We'd like to welcome now officially Medal of Honor recipient, Staff Sergeant David Bellavia. Sir, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for asking. And where are you? This has got to be a busy time for you, I would imagine.
I am in Buffalo, New York, home of the 7-2 Buffalo Bills, and I was born and raised out here, and it's a really patriotic area, and I was lucky enough to be born in a region where veterans have always been emulated and respected, and we've got so many Medal of Honor recipients from Western New York, a lot of great men and women who've served, and this is home. It's always been home, and I love being from Buffalo.
Yeah, that's great. Us being here in Charlotte, we call Buffalo, sometimes your team, Panthers North. So, but you guys are doing.
That's right.
That's right. There's a lot of connections there.
Yeah, there is, and most of Buffalonians escape to Charlotte too, so that happens a lot.
Well, you guys have a great team, and we look to see how Josh does as you continue on with your season. So, as we talk about Veterans Day, you being a Medal of Honor recipient, and just even a veteran in general, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
So many civilians confuse Veterans Day with Memorial Day. We thank people for their service on Memorial Day. We talk about the fallen on Veterans Day. When you really break it down, it's something really special to acknowledge that something's greater than you, that there is something that's worthy of sacrifice. And this country, especially now when everyone is divided, everyone's in a tribe, it's politics, it's COVID, it's football. We're on a team, one team. Regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your religion, your sexuality, regardless of your socioeconomic background. The Army for me was like being a part of the world's largest adoption agency. You don't pick your family, you're just in it. And you learn to be uncomfortable, you learn to live and get along and fight with a tenacity that's ingrained in America's DNA. It's part of our pedigree. We've been fighting bullies since 1775, and it's the greatest to be a veteran, to be a part of that camaraderie. And then we come home and we make our communities better. We're the best teachers you want. We're the best friends you can have. We make America, everywhere we go, we make it better, and we continue to serve. Just when you hang up that uniform and you get out, that doesn't mean your service is over. So Veterans Day is a day where we acknowledge wartime, peacetime. Service is what Veterans Day is all about.
What does it mean to you to see a community like ours here in Charlotte investing in their veterans transition?
Well, the veterans bridge home and that transition, we have to understand that, just like when we were soldiers and Marines and sailors and airmen in uniform, it's weird when you're in the military, you don't have a hard time asking for help. You know who to go to. You talk to your squad leader, you talk to your platoon sergeant, you talk to your officers, your NCOs, you get help. When you come home, that validation of the uniform is gone, your identity is gone. What is my purpose? And you realize that sometimes it takes other veterans to step up and say, hey, this isn't what you should be doing. You're having an issue, a difficulty. For me, I was so used to telling my first civilian job out of the military, I would tell everyone when I went to the bathroom. I was accustomed to telling everyone where I was going to be accountable. And, people in accounting don't really want to know that you have to use the restroom. It's inappropriate to know where you're going, where you're going to be, how long you're going to be. So there are people that wear their service on their sleeve. They get the high and tight. They low crawl to the copy machine. They're always telling you that they're veterans. And some people, they don't feel comfortable doing that because they don't trust. And veterans, we're conditioned to trust everyone in our environment because that's vital to mission success. It's vital for our survivability. Having the ability to trust other individuals that are in it for you, that are trying to help you. Once you have that trust, it's a beautiful thing to see, private public partnerships coming together and trying to remind people of who you are. Every single day when you look in the mirror, you're a soldier, you're a Marine, you're still a veteran, and you're a part of a family, and people love you, and you are validated, and you are important. And if you have trouble, there are people that care enough about you, like the Veterans Bridge Home, that are going to be there to help you along the way because you're important and you're worth it. And that's what that's what we need more of, quite frankly.
I agree completely. And from what I understand, Buffalo, you guys have a really good community as well, right?
Oh, we're amazing. They take care of veterans and the VA facilities here and the private folks that help out. But I mean, look, I think we're all looking at Charlotte, though. I think we're all looking at what you do and the effortless way that it's. I think the key is that it's not looked at as a burden. You know, this is not something that we're doing because, you know, there's a tendency to look at veterans as victims or criminals. And we don't look at service as for the honorable practice that it actually is. And I think a lot of the victimization is out there, and it almost becomes like, you know, for $4 a month, you can give private snuffy coffee, and it becomes an infomercial of, you know, this is what you can do to help a veteran. What you can do to help a veteran is employ a veteran. What you can do to help a veteran is to remind them of the values in which they dedicated and risked their life for, and remind them that just because you don't have your buddy to your left and right, you have value, you're loved, you're important, and we need you in circulation. We need you in our communities. We need you out there reminding people why this country is the greatest gift in the world. And I very much respect organizations that are constantly taking victimization out and saying, no, we're obligated to do this because these men and women were willing to die for us. And there's nothing more beautiful than that.
And I completely. And it's really, like you said, it's important that for them to take away the victimization of it. These men and women have gone out and fought. They are talented and creative and smart, and they are strong for the workforce, and it's important to get them involved in there.
And that even goes for the Marines out there.
Yeah.
We love them, believe it or not.
Well, my father's a Marine, so I'm sure he's probably having a chuckle right now with that.
No, listen, I love the Marines. I taught 3 of them how to read. I'm very proud of that. And I got to tell you, we bust each other's chops all the time. And my experience in Fallujah, I got to serve shoulder to shoulder, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. That battle was really my generation's Normandy fight. And having the opportunity to serve next to Marines and sailors and airmen, even the Coast Guard was out there. This is an incredible generation.
Yeah.
And as proud as I am of the men and women who fought during my time, I get a chance now to meet young Marines and young soldiers and airmen and Navy sailors, and they're better than we were. This group right now, these millennials that everyone maligns, the Gen Z kids that don't get their sideburns even, don't make their bed, they're better than we were. These young people, I'll tell you, everyone talks about, you know, their narcissism. There's something healthy about seeing your own importance. And when you can take all of that confidence and all of that belief in self and then put it into an institution like the military, they're devastating. They're good. They're professional. They have empathy. They have humanity, and they're lethal when they're fighting for a good, just cause. So it breaks my heart to say, but this young group is really, really impressive, and they're out in the front defending us right now.
Yeah, and let's stay on that for a second, because we got a great question that was given to us by Lowe's. It says, David, you're big on generations and the importance of connections between those who have served. Almost 20 years now into the global war on terror, if you could tell your young self one thing about your service and one thing about your transition, what would that be?
You know, I think we talk about intestinal fortitude and the ability to fight, you know, in the confines of combat. You know, don't quit. I would remind myself, everyone is watching you every single day. Just when you think they're not watching you, they are.
Yeah.
And you've got to be very hyper cognizant of the fact that everyone's looking, and they want, you know, if they don't understand you or they don't understand the military, they're going to judge the military experience by what they see in veterans. And we have to understand that. And so there's some humor that we laugh at that other people don't laugh at. There's some things that we find funny or some things that entertain us that civilians don't. We have to be hyper cognizant that we are ambassadors of our generation as veterans. And that means accountability. And that also means that, there are times that these skills are important and they can manifest. The amount of money you're in charge of when you're in the military, the responsibility, the accountability of taking care of soldiers. And when you can take that and put that into a civilian skill set, there's really nothing we can't do. I mean, if you're going to talk to an engineer who's clearing roads of IEDs, I think he's going to do okay on the job interview. The young soldier, the female medic who's out there saving lives, how is she going to do on her quarterly review? I'm going to bet that she's going to be all right. I mean, when you put it in perspective, that empowerment of serving and going through all the different things that we went through in uniform and realizing in perspective what's really important. People in Washington, D.C., they scream on cable news about what's important. What do they know about sacrifice? What do they actually know about what's important? We had a way where we disagreed on politics. We disagreed on religion. We had disagreements. We're people. But we were able to put it aside and focus on mission, getting things done. And Democrats shoot straight, Republicans shoot straight. Doesn't matter. There's no affiliation on your dog tag. Get the job done. Show people dignity and respect, not because it's good for a morale builder or it helps you get promoted. Show dignity and respect because that's what you're obligated to do as a person. That's your responsibility, is to show people with dignity and respect. And taking those values, putting them in the civilian world. And sometimes you have to realize, you are more accountable. You know it's right, you know it's wrong, and you have to maintain that. And it's a burden. It is a burden, but it's a burden that you can shoulder. You can handle it because you've done it before, and now you're just being asked to do it again without a first-line supervisor over your shoulder.
Right, we've done it before and we'll do it again. And that's one thing with VBH that we talk about a lot and that I really respect about it is they talk to these young men and women and show them what their skills and how they're transferable into the regular job world. And it's very important for everybody to kind of really understand that.
It is, and there was a mindset for the longest time that, infantry is a bunch of knuckle-dragging mouth breathers, artillery guys are. The reality is that there's so much math in this world. There's so many being accountable. And, we talk about the Normandy campaign in World War II. My grandfather is still with us. He's 100 years old. He's a veteran in Normandy, Bronze Star recipient out there. And, the Normandy campaign, we talk about D-Day in Omaha, Utah, and Juneau and the beaches. Really what the hedgerows lasted almost 27 days. The hedgerow campaigns were very, very difficult for the Allied forces to punch through. And it took an NCO in the Army, a welder, to put a plow on a Sherman tank. The ingenuity of one E5 that had a welding torch and put a plow on a Sherman tank, they punched through the hedgerows, turned the battle immediately.
Yeah.
And because they were pushing through that vegetation, we were able to hold that ground. That's what soldiers and that's what veterans do. We fix problems, and you're given the freedom to fix problems. And for a lot of soldiers and veterans out there, it's frustrating to understand the way a hierarchy works. You're used to a squad leader. You're used to being able to give ideas but be respectful. All we have to do is figure out the rules. Just tell us how the game is played, and we will inevitably dominate it, and we will be successful. If it's a fair opportunity, veterans are always going to be successful. And so we have to have patience as veterans. We have to understand our situational awareness. And once we figure that out, it comes right back down to doing the things that we know we can do. We're willing to be uncomfortable. We're willing to be respectful. We'll follow the instructions and the rules, and we'll be respectful to our leadership. That's what's in our DNA. That's who we are.
Man, what a great message. You spoke a little bit about your war, right? And this is a question that came to us from Truist, and they said, well, yesterday it's actually a big day for a couple of reasons. One, it marks the 16th anniversary of the Second Battle of Fallujah, which is where you earned your then Silver Star, but then 14 years later, you received the Medal of Honor for it. What was it like to get that phone call to say, hey, we've reevaluated, and in fact, we're going to give you the Medal of Honor? And what has that done to change your life?
I mean, you know, if you had one ambition in life, you know, you can't ever expect to be a recipient of the Medal of Honor. It's not. There's no path to do that. And you know, I was in basic training. I'm, you know, shining boots. I'm cleaning my weapon system. And I'm reading these citations, and it's like, you know, being a recipient, I get to hang out with all these legends. You know, Gary Bykirk and Gary Luttrell and Drew Dix and Pat Brady and
right.
Melvin Morris, an African-American Vietnam veteran who basically doesn't get the Medal of Honor because of his skin color. And you talk to Melvin Morris years later after this action, there's not any bitterness in this man. This is one of the greatest Americans who's ever walked the face of the earth. He happened to be born black, but he is 100% American stud. And what he did out in that battlefield was incredible. And you're hanging out with the Avengers. You're hanging out with Iron Man and Superman and superheroes.
Right.
Now, you know, to get that phone call, you think to yourself, you know, well, I'm either going to be the ambassador to France or I'm going to prison. Why the hell are you contacting me? There's, you know, what's this investigation? The process is so secretive. They don't even ask you what happened. They don't care about your narrative. They don't care about what you had to say. It's all what everyone else witnessed. And I was lucky enough to have an embedded reporter from Time Magazine, Michael Ware, who videotaped the whole thing. And, you know, so the witnesses that saw what they saw, but how many people have done things that nobody has witnessed? You know, to me, the Medal of Honor is not emblematic of a life of honor. You have to earn it every day. It's very similar to the Purple Heart. You know, the Purple Heart you get when you get dinged up, but those Purple Heart recipients earn that award every day they wake up, and they're not the same. And so it's a humbling experience. But I was lucky enough to serve with these guys from 2-2 Infantry of the 1st Infantry Division. And they were there with me on the stage. They were there with me in war. And they've been so good and so kind. And they're the best battle buddies you could have. And I love them. I have them back in my life now. I drag them across the country before COVID hit. And it's just a lot of fun. You know, we're older now. And, you know, my Sergeant Major, Stephen Falkenberg, was killed on November 9th in 2004. And, you know, I remember thinking how old he was. He was 44. He was a dinosaur. And now, you look in the mirror and you think, wait a minute, you know, we have to live for them. We have to live for those men and women that we lost. And we have to live the life that they voluntarily gave up for us. And that's a heavy responsibility. But nothing in this world is easy. And I remind young people that make that decision between college and high school, or college and the military. You know, there are schools out there. That's your path. That's your trajectory. But understand what the military will do. The military will make you a better person. The military will treat you with dignity, respect, and will love your children the way you love your children. We're going to take care of them forever. And we're going to make them feel a part of something. And I think that's really important, and it's something I'm very privileged to be a part of as a veteran.
So I've watched a lot of your speeches, including when you received the medal. So in that speech, I don't believe I ever heard you talk about yourself, including right now when I asked you about it. You didn't speak about yourself. It's always about your unit or your men or the 37 lives that were lost. Have you had a time to reflect about your role in this whole thing?
I don't think I have a role without those men. I really don't. And you know, the Medal of Honor obviously is an individual award. But I mean, I guess if you believe you're as smart as your report card in 4th grade, you're in for a world of hurt. You know,
yes.
If you think you're as good as that basketball game you played your junior year in high school, LeBron James would like to talk to you, right? I don't know. I was raised around, you know, people that constantly reminded me of being an individual in a community and how important that is. We all have gifts. We all have talents. We're all, allowed to go out there and show what we can do individually. But, you know, when you're in a firefight in close quarters, one guy stands up and panics, the whole trajectory of the fight has changed. You're repatriating a body on the other side of a skirmish line, or you're risking your life to get a wounded guy. And what happens is really psychologically debilitating. It changes, you know, the littlest things can change a close quarter fight. Confidence, you're super confident, you're super insecure. You go up, you take out 2 targets, you feel like Thor. Nothing can stop me. I'm an American warrior. And then you trip over your own feet and you almost get your head shot off. And you think, man, I should have gone to law school. This was a horrible idea. I'm no good at this. I'm not a SEAL Team 6 guy. I'm not a Delta Force guy. You know, your confidence is constantly going back and forth. And it's those soldiers that you're in charge of, that are over you, that love you, that care enough about you. And you realize that really the building block of valor is love. I mean, we talk about the peer pressure that's negative, the peer pressure that made you drink when you were 12 or smoke a cigarette. But if you surround yourself with outstanding people, the peer pressure is what makes you do things you wouldn't do otherwise. And it's peer pressure. It could be good if you have good people around you, because doing the wrong thing is what is few and far between. And so I can't tell my story without telling the truth. And the fact is that my number got called, and I did what the fellas did the day before and the day after. And I guess if I'm going to have attention, I would like to remind you that what's the point in you know, standing in the light and saying, yes, this is all, I am incredible. I want people to understand that we are no different than you are. And if you're 18 years old right now, you have a choice to make. And if you serve your country, you too can be a part of something that's the greatest force of good this world has ever seen, which is the United States military. It's more than shooting bullets. It's about spreading, you know, life-saving vaccinations across this country. 300 million lives are dependent right now on the military to deliver that vaccination. During a storm, people, no power, no water, no food, no hope. The American military is there to deliver that hope. And when we come home, we're your teachers. Our veterans are EMTs and doctors and lawyers and husbands and wives, and we're in your communities, and you need us, not only on the front lines to under fire. You need us in your neighborhoods. You need us in Charlotte. You need us in Buffalo. You need American veterans of our military in our communities continuing to serve. And the message has to be, this is an incredible, you know, clap of lightning that hit me. And this award is unbelievable. But the reminder is that I'm a soldier, and there's 850,000 people just like me and just like my friends. And every one of us in that situation, very similar, would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah. And you were a soldier. And this actually comes from us from Bank of America. And they had a great question about, you were a soldier, you've raised a family, you've served as a reporter, which I don't know that many people know. You were actually embedded in 2006. In 2008, you wrote a book, you have your own radio show, you made a run at some politics. I mean, the list goes on and on. What is next for David Bellavia?
I want to be a magician in Vegas.
I think you could do it.
I think I could do it. It's a little sleight of hand. No, I mean, look, one of the things that's great about, you know, being in the Army is that 1 minute you're an infantryman, and then you get trained to work on engines, and then you go play around with the tanks and call for fire, and you're a combat lifesaver. It was always about learning everyone's job and seeing that, you know, if you're going to, you want to be, you know, accountable, and if a job needs to be done, you can go out there and do it. But radio to me was, you know, it's like being in the barracks, just talking to people. And some people want to vent, and some people want to go crazy, and sometimes you listen to them, and sometimes you maybe jab them back and forth and have fun. But, you know, we try to do a radio show that's respectable of all points of view, and it's a lot of fun. And again, I think it's a great service to kind of, especially now when everyone's so worked up and
right,
they all have their tribe. And just to remind people that America's going to be fine. I know it breaks your heart, but no matter who the president is, no matter who the president was, America is going to be fine. America has gone through a whole lot, and we're still here. And that doesn't mean that we forgive the sins of America in the past, but if we're going to be more perfect, if we're going to be sound again, we have to acknowledge our past and realize how we have to tackle real issues without, you know, forgetting it or erasing it. to not repeat the mistakes, you have to address the mistakes. And I think that generation of American, we'd be much better served if we had veterans in every aspect of our life. There's no cliche or hyperbole with veterans. So the embedded reporting thing was, those guys are out there alone. And I was under the impression that it was going to be like getting the band back together. Not a lot of people trust the media in a war zone. I have so much respect for Michael Ware at Time Magazine, who I think is the Ernie Pyle of his generation. Yeah. This guy is probably the most respected military journalist alive. And I realized that I can't hold a torch to Michael Ware. I mean, you're putting your lives in the hand of you have no trust if the local national wants to kill you or just give you a story. You don't know if the military really, if they trust you enough to go out of their way to make sure you're okay. There were some real squirrely days, riding a cab from Sadr City to Fallujah. I felt much more secure being in uniform with a rifle.
Yeah. Well, I will say I have a ton of respect for you, sir, and all you've done. I really appreciate it. Yesterday was your birthday. I'd like to point that out before we close out. Happy birthday to you, sir. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank Tommy and Patty Norman, Veterans Bridge Home. A lot of people talk the talk. Very few people are willing to go out there and put the equity in to really sweat and go out there and bring people together for a common cause. And when we have individuals like that in our environment that are sacrificing, supporting, founding, working, it's really something that attention needs to be paid. Thank you to, in particular, the Normans. Thank you for what you stand for. Thank you for what you're doing. Understand something right now. There are going to be bad days. There's days where you're frustrated, you're fundraising, you're trying to work on capital projects. But the work that you're doing right now, the difference that you have made in veterans' lives is something that's going to transcend farther than any fundraising event you do, any thank you email you get. Oftentimes we don't say thank you enough to the people that are really behind the scenes. Tommy and Patty, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart on behalf of everyone whose lives you've impacted. Thank you so much for what you stand for and what you do.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your time. And we want to thank Truist Bank for bringing us just an incredible keynote speaker.
Hello, my name is Chris Henson, Head of Banking and Insurance at Truist, and the executive sponsor for our Supporting Emergency Responders and Veterans Engagement, a business resource group we call SERVE. On behalf of all of us at Truist and the approximately 1,400 teammates we have who are veterans, we want to sincerely thank you for your service to our country. You help us fulfill our purpose, to inspire and build better lives and communities each and every day. We are so grateful for your service and for all that you do for our country and our communities, and for the remarkable ways you help us and show us how to lead. We want to wish you all a very happy Veterans Day. Please know that Truist stands by you, and we appreciate all that you do.